Alrighty. There's one column down. Should we go on to another one? Should we go on to 38? 38 is empty. This is empty. And this is the toilet seat. Is there anything else in there? No. Okay. Empty and empty. $39 and $40. Should we do them? Yep. $29 is empty. 2 is empty. 2007 legal papers. And a Master Willie. Bennett's scrapbook. Okay, we gotta do the 39, which is empty. Okay, we're up to 41. Empty. Hats. Empty. Insulation supplies. Forty-one is done. Let's go for 42. You want to? $20, $40, $60. $42. Empty. Pandora vegan label. Paint box. 42 is empty. Vegan labels. Paint box. $43, $44. Okay, let's go for 43 and 44. Camcorder boxes. DVDs returned by TV stations. $43 in camcorder boxes. DVDs returned by TV stations. 2011, 1976, 1977. What's that about? And then DVDs returned by TV stations. August to 11. Okay. I'm going to go for 44. That's the next to the last one. I did not pay for the copies at the library. Miscellaneous. It's still miscellaneous. Files, 1984. Miscellaneous. Last one. Shall we do it? I think so. When shall we go? I think so. It's empty. This is an empty. $8 mil. Empty. 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 DVD. 2008, 2009. Glendora versus Press. Let's get the top three here. 45. Empty. Empties. And DVDs. 2008, 2009. 45 is the last one. Empty. Empty. DVDs. 2008, 2009. Glendora versus Press. $1984 file. 1980 files. 1993. 1984, 1980, and 1993. It's done. It's done. Okay, put away the scissors and the tape. Goodbye, everybody. Thank you. Are you ready to leave? Yes. You got your book? Yes. I forgot the camera. I'm sorry, camera. Ooh, isn't it dark in here? Ooh, it's dark. It's dark. Goodbye, museum. Thank you. They failed earlier. They polluted the sky horribly. Early afternoon, it all went away. And they're back with their poison. Hi there, folks. How are you today? Do you think it's a good idea sharing these biographies? Do you think it's a good idea? You call me up and you tell me some of your life story. Right now, I got up to 1939, 11 years old in 6th grade. And 1940, 12 years old, in 7th grade, and my mother and father used to go play bridge maybe one Saturday night a month, and it was Roy and Eva Hudson and Ralph and Dora Labrie, and then another couple. And they would go to one couple's house one month and another couple's house the next month, and so forth. And they always had a delicious supper. It was always the same. It was a cabbage and pineapple salad. Delicious. It was home-baked bread, home-baked rolls made from scratch, and baked beans, and a delicious dessert. Then they would play bridge, and my mother and father were the only ones who had a child of the age that couldn't be left home, so I always had to be tagged along. My poor mother and father had to drag me along. And Eva Hudson and Roy Hudson. Roy was the custodian in one of the schools, and he was the custodian in the new 5th Street Junior High School that was just built. And he was a jolly person, and Eva was so kind, and kind to me, and looked out after me when we lived on Smith Street. They lived right across the street on Smith Street. That was a joy. And I tell you about Ralph Labrie. He was a carpenter, and we were very poor. We had no money. It was the Depression, and I wanted so much to have a desk. We all had to work around the dining room table. Ralph Arnold Folsom Jr., who was about 19 years old, was trying to find a job, and he couldn't, and so he tried going to the Bangor Commercial School to learn bookkeeping, to try to be an accountant or a bookkeeper, and he didn't really like it. And finally, I think he got a job at Newberry's, a 5 and 10 cent store, which we don't have anymore. Newberry's and Grant's and Woolworths. And I think finally he got a job clerking there. Later on, he tried his own grocery store. Later on, he went to work for Standard Brands. That would be Chase and Sanborn Coffee, and Blue Bonnet Margarine, and help me. And then later on, he started his own business, a distribution business, Progressive Foods, and he started that in the state of Maine, and he was successful at that, and he went on the board of Hannaford's. Was on the board in Scarborough, Maine, and then he went into stockbroking. And then he moved from Maine down to Florida, Fort Lauderdale, Florida. But I wanted to tell you about Ralph Labrie, who he lived on Autumn Street. He and Dora lived on Autumn Street. And there was also Winter Street, and there was Spring Street, and there was Summer Street. Although Summer Street was at the other end of town. Well, he was a carpenter, Ralph Labrie, and I could see, from our dining room window, I could see across to their house on Autumn Street, even though we were on Smith Street. And I wanted a desk so badly. It just seemed like it would fix everything up in life for me if I had a desk. Of course, we couldn't afford to buy one. So one day, Ralph Labrie says, "I'll make you a desk." And he said that sometime in the winter, and I had to wait until spring. And I would look out every Saturday. Of course, he was home from work, and every Saturday I'd look out the dining room window and look over to his garage. And one Saturday I looked over, and he was outside and the weather was good enough, and he started making that desk. And he made it from scratch. He made it from the very beginning. Isn't that a wonderful gift? And it was, it had drawers on one side, and it was a knee-hole desk, and he finished it. Oh, thank you, Ralph Labrie. Thank you, Dora. Let's see if we found anything else to tell you. And Ralph Arnold Folsom, when he was unemployed, you know, he couldn't find a job anywhere. Unfortunately, he rolled cigarettes, his own cigarettes. Terrible habit, bugle tobacco, and he had a cigarette roller. And he had to stay home all day and play solitaire, looking, waiting, hoping somebody would call and ask him to come for an interview. And he would always sing in this song. On a hill far away stood an old rugged cross, an emblem of suffering and shame. Oh, I love that ere cross, where the dearest and best for a world of lost sinners was slain. I will cherish the old rugged cross till my trophies at last I lay down. I will cling to the old rugged cross and exchange it someday for a crown. Well, he did. And in Bangor, up on Ohio Street, was the standpipe. There was quite a hill up there, and the standpipe was the city water tower. But they built a beautiful white structure, round structure, all the way around it, and on the top they had a porch. And you could go up there, and you could look out and see Bangor and Brewer and Orono and Old Town and Herman and Hamden. It was lovely. The standpipe. Let's see. When we lived on 3rd Street in Bangor, that would be 1938. It doesn't add up right. But anyway, it was a hurricane in 1938. Now, you didn't have hurricanes in Maine. You just didn't have them. So when that hurricane came up in 1938, that really was a violent shock. And I didn't know what a hurricane was, being about 10 years old. Okay, where are we now? 7th grade was Hannibal Hamlin School, and we started rotating classes. Told you that 8th grade was a brand new 5th Street Junior High School. Oh, it was magnificent. And of course, in those days, there was no busing. You know, you walked to school. We walked to school. And at noon hour, they had a noon hour. Everybody left school. And when I walked home, had lunch, and then walked back to school. And I was alone most of the time because my poor mother and father were out on the road trying to sell and trying to make a living. 1940, well, that was 1940, the 12th grade, and 7th, and 1941 would be age 13, and that would be the 8th grade. And that was the new junior high school on 5th Street. And we had a newspaper. We started a newspaper. And I was taking the college course, college preparation course. It would be English and social studies and algebra and Latin and Wouldn't there be another one, folks? Yeah, language. Spanish also. And 1941, at age 13, on December 7th, we all gathered around the radio, and President Franklin D. Roosevelt announced what had happened at Pearl Harbor, and that started the war. World War II, as far as we were concerned in the United States. In 1942, at age 14, ninth grade at 5th Street Junior High School, and to Presque Isle, Maine, where Bertha Helene's sister gave birth to John Roger Erskine, Jr. No, he wasn't a junior. His father's name was James Roger Erskine. John Roger Erskine, named after James Rogers' daddy, who was a potato farmer. And the war was going on. And all the airports in Maine, Bangor Airport, Limestone Airport, Presque Isle, Caribou airports were all expanded for the Strategic Air Command because they were right on the coast of the country, and they had to protect the coast. And Bob Hope was all over the world entertaining troops, and I was a Bob Hope fan, an avid Bob Hope fan. To me, he was the idol. I could have found a better idol, but that's the way it started. And I think it started with Ralph Arnold Folsom Jr. brother would come the next day after Tuesday night. Bob Hope was on for Pepsodent, and the brother and his friends, Herbert Crummett, they would all talk about the jokes that Bob Hope told. I guess that's probably what started it. And Bob Hope had a book that went with the Pepsodent sales, They Got Me Covered, written by Jack Douglas, whom I met later. I met them all later. I met Bob Hope later, and I met Jack Douglas later. Dreams came true. But the war had started, and a horrible thing. And the economy changed, and everybody had jobs. Now, defense jobs. What changed the economy? The slaughtering of our youth, of our young men and women in war. We had the women waves and the women Marines and the women Army Corps, the WACs. And we started up the United States Air Force. Air Corps. No, it was part of the Army. It was the Air Corps. Then it became the Air Force. And at ninth grade, Glendora was voted the most popular, and a couple of other things, and it was because of telling jokes. And I had an autographed picture of Bob Hope, and it was framed, and I would put it on my school desk. When I'd rotate from class to class, I'd take out the picture and put it on my desk. We had civil studies, civics it was called, where you studied government, and you learned about current events. Nowadays, you know how old you are when what you read as current events, people read now as history. Latin again, Spanish again, algebra again, social studies again with Miss Peavy, my favorite teacher. She helped me, and she gave me the attention and the help that I needed, and strengthened me. What was my average? Around about a C, C plus, maybe a B minus. And so that ended junior high school in Bangor, Maine. I told you about the summer going up to Presque Isle and the war effort, and James Roger didn't have to go into the service because he was a farmer. He too had a potato farm, 75 acres on Reach Road along the Aroostook River in Presque Isle, Maine. What is this worth? I can't figure out what it is worth. So when you call me and tell me your recollections, then maybe we can establish what this is worth. For the meantime, we'll probably take it up to age 22. And there we'll stop, around maybe 24. And then we'll stop and step back and appraise this. So, in the fall of 19, we lived at, let's see, from Summer Street, we went to 90 Ohio Street, and then we went to 14th Street where they were building the airport. And Lane Construction was doing it, and my mother saw the ad in the paper that they wanted board and room, and she took them board and room, and she got up at 4 o'clock in the morning and made them breakfast and packed their lunches. And then after they left for breakfast for construction on the Bangor airport runways,